Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, today, Matchbox March returns, episode 9. Unbelievable. I think there's going to be 12 episodes in the end, which is not really what I intended at the start. I thought there'd be 4 or 5, maybe 6. Then I thought there'd be 10. Now I'm pretty sure it's going to be 12. But you know it's getting serious when behind me I even have the list. To try and keep track of things, because there's a missing kit here. It's the Lightning. Don't worry, it's not missing. It's not actually missing. It's not sold or lost. I've gone and obviously moved it to a different box, and it is not. It is on the list, but it is not where the list says it is. So we have the problem. I don't know where it's gone. It'll probably. What I'll do, I'll put it in a later show. It will reappear. It should be there. There should be 6 of them. But I thought I'd crack on anyway because. Basically, the cat sleeps in the room where the models are, and she's fast asleep. I'm going to disturb her if I go rooting around in there. Wait till she's woken up. So we'll have to just do without the Lightning for now. So today it's Orange Range aircraft, and some really nice ones. Now, the ones I'm going to show you are not necessarily the absolute most perfect boxes, because this is when the Orange Range they started shrink wrapping them. So I've got several. For example, we've got. I can make it 6 if you like, because I've got a Lightning there, an absolutely perfect shrink wrapped Lightning. Likewise, I've got over here, we've got a shrink wrapped Beaufighter, perfect one. But to actually have a quick look at them, we need them not to be shrink wrapped. So, yeah, we seem to have a set here where we've got some absolutely, they're either absolutely perfect or they're kind of average to good. Not quite the mint originals like I had in some of those purple range. So without further ado, why don't we take a look? I shall get rid of the list, which I've been using trying to figure out where all these things are in the Lost Ark warehouse, and get all the get the staff in the warehouse to bring them out to me, and they've sort of failed me on the Lightning, the P38. So it should have had Lightning, old and new. Do you know what I mean? Got an F35, couldn't we as well? But anyway, Matchbox sadly didn't do that. Right, so I'm going to start. I think I'm going to start with the Mosquito. So what we'll do is we're going to have to move these out anyway for focus reasons. So we've got the Hunter. Let's zoom you in a bit. I'll give you a quick heads up what's coming up. In today's show, we have the Hunter, which is single and 2-seat. One of these nice kits where they actually give you the option to do both. We have got the Messerschmitt 410. Not the most successful sort of fighter bomber from the Germans, that one, during World War II. It didn't really go quite as planned. They made it a bit too heavy, I think. We have the Beaufighter as mentioned. Beautiful Beaufighter attacking the Kiel dockyards. And we have got the Lightning as mentioned. Interesting story about the artwork on the Lightning. We'll come to that later. And starting with the Mosquito, the ubiquitous Mosquito. Now, of course, later Matchbox did a sort of standard Mosquito Mark 4, I think it was, the one that's got the glass nose. But this is the Mark 9, the NF30 version. So you've got 2 options here. I'm wrong, aren't I? I just realised. Yeah, the Mark 9 has got the glass nose in it anyway. So let's have a look at this. So this is dated 1976. Came out in 76. So this is really when most of the oranges came out, 75, 76. Although we didn't get the early ones like the Jaguar came out 73. Just interesting. I'm just going to check on that actually, just to see what it says on there. 75 for the Lightning, it says Leslie 75. So they were sort of starting in 73, and then they sort of dribbled out a bit more. They didn't come out in a big tranche all at once. Anyway, we've got the option of RAF Swannington. Not sure where Swannington is. Is that down near Portsmouth, somewhere down that way? And then we've also got a Night Fighter version at RAF Marham. It says Night Fighter. Yeah, okay, so it had the cannons underneath. It doesn't have the machine guns in the nose, of course. So let's have a look at what we got here. And apparently they are checking a German factory. I think it's supposed to be Precision Low Level Strike. It's supposed to be, I think, the raid on the Philips electronics factory that's at Eindhoven, I think, in Holland. So I know that they did attack that. So let's have a look. See, we've got this. So it's PK116. So it's the 16th one. We've got this sort of front quarter view, side view here. The colours they've chosen seem fairly rational, certainly more rational than what we've seen recently with lipstick red, you know, fighter planes in the Pacific Theatre, which were not a good idea. On the side, oh here we go, just to taunt me, we've got the P-38 Lightning, the one that's currently AWOL, which I'm sure will reappear shortly. Don't worry, I've still got it. P-38 Lightning and the modern Lightning, and of course the ME410. So let's have a little look inside the box here and see what we actually have. This one is a little bit dish, this box. It's not one of the Minter ones here. In fact, there's a couple of kits in this selection. So not quite to the usual standard that you're used to from me, of course. But some of them are quite hard to get your hands on. Original issues, I mean. So, here we go. Matchbox up to their usual tricks. What was I just saying? Green and grey, I said. It's not green and grey. We've got dark chocolate brown wings. We've got black. Okay, that's fine. That's the same as it should be. And then we've got this rather like a fawn colour. Very strange choices. So fawn, it's got two-tone brown. Now why would the Mosquito be in two-tone brown? Doesn't bear any relation to camo at the time or anything like that. Anyway, we've got ubiquitous medium size, because we're on the orange range, so we've gone a bit bigger now. The medium size stand, you can see how much bigger it looks than the others that we saw on the purple range. And we've got two options on the canopy, which is really good. So I've got these two versions with two different noses as well, of course. So I like it when they do these variability where you've got optional, you know, fairly a bit like the Tempest, big change. Same on the Hunter I just mentioned, of course, where you can see that they were trying to give you something extra in the box, and I think at this price range was really good. So you've got the two different types of canopy. One's got the plain wide letterbox windscreen at the front with no blister on top, no observation blister, and then you've got the more pointed type underneath with the observation blister, as you can see on top of here. Yeah, for the navigator to stick his head out. And then you've got the nose viewing port that is in the nose, which is on the Mark 9, I think that is, isn't it? Doesn't actually make it clear which is the NF30, which is the Mark 9. But anyway, a really nice selection of clear parts. That's a really good start, actually. We have then our proper orange range instructions, which is always nice to see. Gives you the full SP here, so if you bear with me, I'll just I think what I'll do, I'll swap to the, because it's quite small writing, I'm going to swap to the more reading orientated glasses. There's a sign I'm getting old here, folks, because I keep having to change the glasses. This is, I don't remember doing this on my earlier videos in previous years. Not a good sign, is it? It's giving you performance, so 408 miles an hour this could do, so it could outpace a Messerschmitt 109, for example. And pretty much similar speed to an FW190. And it says, following the success of the Comet Racer and the Albatross airliner, de Havilland spent many months designing an unarmed bomber of all wood construction. Eventual specification 1/40 was drawn up and one prototype ordered by the Air Ministry. A contract finally being placed on the 1st of March 1940. Now, they haven't mentioned here, but the Air Ministry weren't terribly interested at the start, and de Havilland pushed on with the project anyway, because he was determined to get it through. It was obvious to him, to Geoffrey de Havilland, that this was going to be a winning combo. It was going to have the performance and the multi-role capability that hadn't been seen before. And he had more vision than the Air Ministry had, which wasn't untypical. You only got to watch the Dam Busters to see some of the battles that Barnes-Wallis had with the same problem. But anyway, I digress. Eventually there was an order was placed for 50 tactical bomber reconnaissance aircraft. Work was meanwhile progressing at great speed, and after only 11 months the prototype flew on the 25th of November 1940, so just after the end of the Battle of Britain. Trials proceeded well, further machines were ordered and 250 were delivered by September 1942. Mosquitoes were used in all roles: fighters, bombers, night fighters, photo reconnaissance and general observation and reconnaissance aircraft. They were able to carry a 4,000-pound bomb load all the way to Berlin. A load as large as that carried by the US flying fortresses. I mean, I still can't get my head around this. When you think of that, suddenly the Flying Fortress sounds terribly inefficient, doesn't it? I mean, it was a good bomber, but it didn't have that big a load bomb carrying capacity, you know? I think the problem was it was so heavily armoured that a lot of its weight, it's a classic case of power versus weight, wasn't it? You know, I'm sure they could have had a bigger bomb load if they didn't have so many guns on it. But this is at the opposite end of the spectrum with almost no guns, very few, and very high speed and very low drag. The machines were used by the pathfinders also to mark targets for the main RAF bomber force. Took part in many spectacular actions. Some 42 different versions were built, including machines fitted with a 6-pounder 57mm anti-tank gun. That's the TEASE Mosquito, which is something I wish somebody would actually... Airfix did it in 70-second scale, didn't they? I wish somebody would do it in a bigger scale, you know, I really do. The aircraft was one of the most outstanding machines produced by anybody during World War II. There you go. Back to the normal glasses. That is quite a good write-up, I thought. Yep, brief, gets to the point. I mean, the range there... Actually, I've got these are my old spec glasses, which doesn't help me, I've got to be honest. So I seem a bit myopic, and it's just that some of this stuff is super small, and these are about 5 years out of date, these glasses. So my prescription for the correction isn't very good. It's very good for looking at things like the camera and peripheral vision. If I'm in any sort of social situations, these are perfect. But they're not so good as the others, but that I sometimes wear. They're a bit thinner. But they tend to have a nasty habit of running down my nose and dropping down. And they're also really bad in any other situation where I've got to look away or look at the side. So I tend to prefer these for YouTube, really. It's not just the fact they're flashy Hugo Boss ones, I promise you. He says. And it's got here... yeah, here we go. Armament, speed, length. It doesn't actually give the range. Well, we know it goes to Berlin, don't we? We know it goes to Berlin. So that's a range of about 1,000 miles, isn't it? Round trip. 800 miles? 750, 800 miles, something like that, I think. Anyway, enough of that. Let's have a look at... Well, oh, that's odd. We've got 2 sets of decals. Why would that be? Both in poor condition. That's an odd event. I didn't know I had 2 lots. Neither, I'm afraid, is any better than the other, though. So that's a bit of a blow, really. It's no benefit at all. Yes, there you go. Bit grim, those. Let's have a look at the actual instructions. So, if only my Havilland Mosquito was as simple as this one, eh? Look at that. That cockpit would be over and done in 5 minutes, wouldn't it? Still working on that. Alright, so here we've got the navigator and the pilot going in into the cockpit, putting in your 2 sides of your fuselage and your rear wheel, landing tail wheel. Then you've got this option of the 2 versions. So you've got one that's got like a radome in the nose, and the other one's got the more traditional observation nose here. That's your options there. And then you're going to put whichever nose you choose, you're going to put in here, plus your canopy and your radio antenna. Then you've got the horizontal stabilisers, main landing gear, quite beefy on the Mosquito, of course, bombs and slipper tanks. And then here we're going to bring in top and bottom wing. They have an outboard and an inboard with the engine nacelle in the middle, which is quite a good setup, really. And then finally, just putting on whichever weapons or slipper tanks you prefer, and your gear doors going in there as well. Now remember, if you want to put it on the just go back to the beginning because I glossed over this. If you want to put it on a display stand, you need to cut out the little slot and the under fuselage. So this can be displayed. I think this is quite an important point to make on these. Now we're getting into the bigger models. Unlike most other manufacturers, this is where Matchbox really scored, I think, because even on the bigger models, like these medium to larger kits, you could still display it on the display stand, and it can be shown in flight. And I think that's important because that's what's missing so much today, in most cases, you know. With the exception of 1 or 2 things like Tamiya's F-35 and stuff like that. So that is very, very nice, apart from the decals, which are a bit disappointing. Seen better days, haven't they? Right, so let's get to our chocolate brown then. I'm not sure why this has ended up in this bizarre colour when it says it's grey. I don't remember these colours before on this particular kit, and I built it once. Pretty sure mine was grey and green, but there we go. I think green would have been better on this sprue as intended. It's very glossy, isn't it, actually, catching the light. Got your two crew, standard ubiquitous Matchbox crew. Obviously there's not a lot of panel lining on a Mosquito apart from the control surfaces. Then we have our sort of almost mustardy sort of colour, walnut I think we'll call it, or coffee coloured. And you've got these two options obviously with your alternate noses here, or here, and here. Your nacelles of course, and again not much, nice and easy for this is for manufacturers because there's no panel lines at all down the fuselage of the Mosquito really to speak of. Technically there is some very small ones, but they haven't bothered, and at this scale I don't think anybody's going to worry about it. So that's that, and then finally we've got our black sprue, so we've got the spinners, and for the props here we've got the props themselves, moulded very sensibly. Look at where they put the sprue gate contact point, just in the right place, so you don't end up with any clean-up to worry about. You don't even need to bother cleaning that up, we just pop the spinner on top, job done. Tail wheel, small bombs, £500 bombs aren't they? Slipper tanks here. And then you've got your exhaust stubs for the engines and the spats for the wheels. Stop the mud flicking up. And over there we've got the wheel tyres themselves. Your main gear legs here. And then just a few small ancillary items like polycaps and things, and the pilot seats. And that is really it. That is your Mosquito. Quite a nice kit, I've got to say. I seem to recall it went together pretty well. My only reservation here is that they've gone off beam again and chosen some very bizarre colours for reasons not entirely clear, frankly. Well, there we go. Nice kit. I found it quite hard to get a really good one of this original boxing, which is the reason I've only got one, and also the reason it's perhaps not the best example you've ever seen. It's not bad. It's a sort of 8.5 out of 10. Just a little bit of discoloration, a little bit of dishing here and there. Anyway, that's the Mosquito. Next, I think we'll jump over to the Lightning. Now, there's an interesting story with this one because we need to talk about the box art. Box art is absolutely superb. And it says, and again I'm going to have to change my glasses, it's got a Beatty's price gun label on it. Look at that, £1.35 is that? £1.35. And it says, it's Roy Huxley's wonderful work of Roy again. August 1970, Lightnings of 74 Squadron, flying standard air patrol, refuelling night and day, refueled I should say, night and day by Victors of 214 Squadron, successfully intercepted attacking Canberras and Vulcans during exercise Bersatu Padu. 5 nations taking part in this multinational exercise in Singapore and Western Malaya. Now, there's nothing controversial I can see in this picture. I don't know what you think. There's certainly not any violence. It's an exercise. And we've got a Vulcan in the background that's about to be intercepted, and they register it as a kill. And yet, incredibly, in later iterations in the 1980s, quite unfathomably, Roy Huxley was asked, and I don't think he ever got a satisfactory answer really, he was asked to paint the Vulcan out because there was conflict shown. I mean, I don't know what sort of snowflake generation we've got now in the world. I'm going to say in this country, but it's not this country. It's all over the place. Really? Conflict? They're just practicing, yeah? They're all buddies, these guys, in all the aircraft concerned. There's no war going on here, and he had to paint it out, and it's very striking when you see the other Lightning boxings. And it's in his book. It's talked about in his book, and it shows it without the Vulcan. The most strange of all of them, you know, you can argue about Nazi symbols or violence that's shown in some of these depictions, But that one is just so bizarre, so bizarre. Why the Vulcan needed to be, you know, and it meant that they had to then change the wording and just say Lightning's on exercise in Singapore, you know. What a load of rubbish. And then I was just turning into a rant, getting angry already. But you know what I mean? I mean, that is really taking the biscuit. I don't know how far this has got to go before people realise the world has gone completely loony. And this was in late 80s, early 90s, when the start of all this nonsense was really getting into gear. I mean, what were Matchbox thinking of, even if it was owned by Revell? I don't care who owns it. There is no conflict or war in that picture. There's no reason to interfere with such beautiful work. It's almost like a painting, isn't it? And there's nothing, even the most squeamish person who's a pacifist, what problem could you possibly have with that artwork? Anyway, we move on. Let's get on to some other pictures that the pacifists won't like, okay? They're not going to like this next one, the Beaufighter attacking the Kiel shipyard. Sorry, I just realised I'm jumping ahead because I've had this rant about artwork. I never showed you the kit. Whoopsie poopsie. You see what I get like? It's that ranting and raving, leave all control. Right. Sorry about that, folks. Shall we actually get back to looking at the Lightning kit? It would help, wouldn't it? Anyway, there we go. Rant over. So, on the side we've got adverts for the Stuka, the other Lightning P38 and the ME410, which we'll see shortly. And then we've got a choice. We've got RAF Gütersloh, or we've got 74 Squadron here in Singapore. Obviously temporary on this exercise. They were on August 70. And then Gütersloh in Germany in 74, which I think does look nice actually, that green scheme. Yeah, I do. Everybody loves a Lightning though. What an amazing aircraft. Yes, I know it had a poor range, but in every other respect, it had a poor range and it was a nightmare to maintain and work on, I believe. But from a pilot's point of view, it's a phenomenal machine. Like driving a Formula 1 car in the sky, really. Just almost limitless performance. Instant, full-on afterburner climb out. And what was the phrase they used to use? They used to say, flying a Lightning was like flying with a homesick angel because it just wanted to go straight to heaven. You know, it would come down the runway. I've actually seen this with my own eyes. One did this at Honington, a visiting Lightning. It was just near the end of the school lunch break at about 5 to 1. Suddenly there's this incredible loud sound because my school playground and the playing field was just beside the approach to RAF Honington. And this thing came in, and when you see this, you remember it, I can promise you. It came in and it thundered down the runway doing about 500 or 600 miles an hour, making the most unbelievable sound, and then just went vertical with the full double afterburners on at the end and went straight up into the clouds and disappeared. And I was 7.5 to 8 at the time, and I was like, I mean, you had to be there. The ground was shaking. It was unbelievable. Anyway, the Homesick Angel, that's the name that people give to the Lightning. And frankly, there's probably no better aircraft ever been, for being impressive. No aircraft until the F-15 could touch it, really. Anyway, there we go. So let's have a look at what's inside. We've got our, of course, we've got these very bizarre overwing tanks, which I understand were a real nightmare to handle. And because they also had, I think, for overwing tanks or overwing sidewinders later as well. Let's have a look at what we have here. I'll draw back so you can see what's going on. Ubiquitous Matchbox medium-sized stand for the orange range there. And are we going to have any bizarre colours of plastic today, or are we going back to the conventional? Let's see. I think no, we are going to have plastic as advertised, which is a nice change instead of the Lucky Dip plastic. Here we go. So, make a fist. That's what they always tell me when they want to take my blood. Make a fist, sir. I'll make a fist. I'll punch your lights out if you hurt me. Right, here we go. Here's our cockpit. Look at that. Nice one. Yeah, cool. We've got our this is a bit disappointing, it's not in orange actually, so this tells me that this is maybe one of the later ones, although we've got decals that don't look too, well, they're not brilliant, are they, because they always curl up, but they don't look too bad. Probably still usable in truth. They're okay. I think I like the German scheme on this one, if I'm honest. Anyway, we've got the full write-up here about the Lightning. Let's see what Matchbox make of it. Again, quick pit stop, need to change my glasses. It's getting a bit ridiculous. It's just that they seem to write so tiny. It's almost like a competition to see how micro can the writing be, you know. There we go. Resulting from an experimental aircraft for a supersonic research aircraft, the P1 prototype had obvious possibilities for full operational use. And as the P1A became the basis for specification F23/49 in September 1949, it's amazing, isn't it? 4 years after the end of World War II, this is. It's unbelievable. By the way, I just realised I've gone smudged when I was handling that. Smudge my glasses in a second. So, 4 years after the end of World War II, and we're onto this sort of thing, which is like something from a science fiction novel, you know. 3 of these aircraft were then ordered in April 1950, and the first flight was on the 4th of August 1954. So it actually flew just 9 years after the end of the war. In November 1956, the P1B was ordered in quantity, and in early 1957, in this modified form, it was with a redesigned fuselage and powered by 2 Avon 200 engines. The P1B was the first British aircraft to ever exceed Mach 2 in level flight, and had a phenomenal rate of climb. Homesick angel, yeah. The name Lightning was announced in October 1958, and the aircraft has been developed over many years. The F6 version, shown here, depicted, is flew from June 1965. These machines having a much greater range, whilst also being able to do in-flight refueling, because it's got the in-flight. I should have shown you that. In-flight refueling probe on the side. It's rattling around in there. Oh. Talk of the devil, the in-flight refueling probe seems to be off the sprue, and there it is. Well, there we go then. One in-flight refueling probe right on cue. Here it is. Unfortunately, it's a bit awkward to show. There it is. This long probe which goes under the wing. Amazing, really, isn't it? So that's to hook into it would plug into a basket type refueling basket. Okay. In terms of armament, it says, let's come back a bit. In terms of armament, the F2A version uses the same airframe but has 2 30mm cannons in the upper nose section, and they usually had an Aiden cannon in the belly bulge, or the what do they call it? What did they call it? My brain's gone. Call it the dorsal bulge or something. Come back to me. Anyway, it had an Aiden cannon that would pop out. A wider variety of armament could also be carried, and several export versions were available. They sold these to Saudi Arabia, of course. Pretty sure they did. So let's have a look on our instructions. I need to go back to the standard glasses now. Here we go. So the small parts guide is as follows. You've got all these gear, legs, wheels, tyres. You've got the pilot to paint. It's suggesting you need to do the surround of the canopy frame. You've got the F6 red top missiles. You've got the afterburner cans, jet pipes, and the surrounding ring. And you've got a panel underneath the wing root. And you've got a fire streak, that's the other missile that you've got as an option. Fire streak missiles, and you've got the pitot that goes under the nose, and that'll be on the seat. And then in terms of the actual instructions, usual thing, pilot, and he's going into a tub this time, pilot, the slightly more detailed seat, it has to be said. And then he's going to go into the main fuselage here. You're going to build up your afterburner rings and the surrounding, basically, the heat resistant area at the back, which protects the rest of the back of the aircraft from the heat. The afterburners, you've got your little cannons, covers going in here on the nose, canopy coming in. So you've basically you've got like a blank for the cannons, or the actual cannons depending on which version. So the F6 doesn't carry the cannons, the F2A does, interestingly. Didn't know that. And then you've got your tailplanes going on, your main gear coming in. On come the wings, plus the wing over wing tanks, fuel tanks. And then you've got the options here of your fire streak or red top missiles, whichever you prefer. And don't forget, the very last thing is that refueling probe which I mentioned, which has seemingly dropped off on mine. Okay, so and it's from this end of the sprue that refueling probe must have come out of there. So here we go. You've got your nose point, which sort of is in the separator. Because you've got this unusual setup where you have like a point, a bit like a MiG-21, isn't it? You've got an aerodynamic nose cone and an intake around it. Very unusual, but very popular at that time, I guess. You've got your red top missiles in fire streaks over here on the right. They're in two halves, so you can see the two different types there. Fire streak is the top one, I think, and these are the red tops here. Then you've got your overwing tanks. And wheels and tyres, etc. You got your main wheels there. Yeah, very nice. Got a seat over on that side. Oops, there's your seat. That's the black sprue. Then we've got the white sprue, complete contrast. Whoa, let the camera adjust for a moment. And then you've got this very unusual setup with the Lightning, where the gear is in the wings, quite a way out really from the main fuselage. It's got to be 8 feet away, hasn't it, or more, maybe 10 feet away. So you got that. You got your top wing. There's quite a bit of raised panel lines on this, I've got to say. Raised detail, raised and recessed combo. And then you've got your gear doors. You've got your horizontal stabilisers with the elevators on, and then you've got the tail wheel. Sorry, nose wheel, beg pardon, and the pilot. And then finally we have the main sprue with the rather strangely coloured, I have to say. I should have done this silver, shouldn't they? Like Revell did. And it's the it's actually quite nicely detailed though. This is, I think they've done this rather well. There's a lot of detail on the panel line in all the little panels down the side. Because this was covered in access panels, the Lightning, because it was so tightly wrapped and packed. Think of a Formula 1 car, the way the bodywork is so close into the actual things like the radiators and exhaust and things. A bit like that with the Lightning, really. You've got a double tail here on both sides, so it only appears on one fuselage side. You've got your jet pipe surround, heat shielding surround there. And there you have it, really. That's your Lightning. So there we go. Finally got through the Lightning. Nice kit though. I've built this one. I don't recall any major problems with it at all. Very nice. You can get plenty of these in the later iteration, the Revell versions. Absolutely no problem at all. And there's a 2-seat version as well, isn't there? Available. Trainer. Should I get all the bits back into this? I'm nervous about that. I seem to want to all go off in different directions. And then finally our stand. Okay. So that is the Lightning, and now to the violence. Time for, as Malcolm McDowell would say, some of the old ultra-violent. The Bristol Beaufighters attacking, using their torpedoes and cannons to attack the Kiel shipyard and take out all the shipping traffic and tankers, taking oil and coal back and forth to the German empire, the German economy. And it says, yes, it's May 1940. Is that 45? Yeah, May the. Really? I'm just surprised by the date. It says May the 3rd, 1945. Why did Germany surrender then? I thought that was that week, wasn't it? This is like the last week of the war, so they're getting a final pounding look of it. Yeah, was it May the 8th? I think it was. I'm just working on memory here now. I think the Germans surrendered on, I think, May the 8th. So this is literally the last week of World War II. And it's got really dramatic. It's firing its cannons, it's dropping its torpedo, it's obviously lined up on a ship that's about to get really in trouble when this arrives. There's a tanker in the background, the ship's on fire, what looks like possibly an oil facility on fire in the background. Really dramatic stuff. On the side we've got an advert for the Jaguar, the Corsair and the Helldiver, all of which we've seen in the last week or two. This side we've got, interestingly, this is a profile view. It's not a three-quarter view, which they've been going for with a lot of them. I think I prefer the profile actually. And then we've got on the back, there's a slight bit of staining here, a little bit unfortunate. Came to me like that, unfortunately. RAF Coastal Command, May 1945, as you see at the top, and then you got RAF Coastal Command at Langham. Doesn't say where 254 Squadron's based, does it? But it does say where 144 Squadron is, there at Langham. Okay, and it's dated 1973, or is it a fight? You know, terrible. I'm just going to put the big glasses on and not run with it. 73. So this is, excuse me, this is one of the first generation. Yes, it's PK 103. So along with the Corsair and the Jaguar, but the Corsair's 101. Yeah, there you go. It tells the story on the side. The Corsair is 101, Jaguar is 102, and then after this one, the Helldiver is PK 104. Let's have a look at see what we've got in this box of delights. Let's have a look. Looks like it's all original boxing, and I think we've got the right colours, which is always a good thing when it actually gives you what they say they're going to give you on the box. Stops people and their parents ringing in and writing in to complain. There's your Matchbox stand. Then we've got our this is something that was complained about a little bit, that you've got the bubble here. Obviously you've got the canopy, and then you've got the bubble here for the gunner, but there's no hole for the gun. There's no gun provided. Bit of a shame, really. And then you've got the little observation window on the top, which they sometimes use for navigation. We've got some decals which don't look too bad, actually. Back a bit. There we go. They're okay. And still got the paper on, which is unusual. And indeed, we have the right coloured plastic, and we've got our lovely, a really new looking, in fairness, considering this is 52 years old, more than half a century old. Fantastic. Looks like brand new. Powered by two Hercules Mark 17 two-row sleeve valve, 1725 horsepower engines. Plenty of power, isn't it? Maximum speed 320 miles per hour. So it's almost as fast as a 109, isn't it? Almost. The early 109s anyway. The Beaufighter was originally developed using a large number of Beaufort components. I've commented about this in the past, saying things like the tail, it looks the same, you know. Most of the airframe, in fact, was based on the Beaufort. It first flew in July 1939, and machines were soon very successful, particularly as night fighters. A number of different engine installations were used, including Rolls-Royce Griffins. However, in general, radial engines were used throughout the Mark IIs, and they normally were used carrying Merlins. The Beaufighter was used in all theatres and was extremely effective against the Japanese, where it was nicknamed by the enemy Whispering Death, because it was very quiet. Came in very fast, very low, very quiet, and this is where the name came from. The TFX model, as depicted here, was modified to carry the torpedo with additional underwing loads and more powerful engines. Some 2,390 of this type were built. It's quite a lot, isn't it, really? You know. On the back we've got our small parts guide. Let me show you. There's the front. Hold it like that, really. There you go. That's a really nice instruction leaflet. You know, half a century ago, and they could write all this detail on any model, and yet today, Border Model and, you know, Ryfield and others can't be bothered to write anything. Crazy. Anyway, here we have tail wheel, main wheels, rather rudimentary pilot seat, the main gear, props and spinner, pitot head, exhausts, your torpedo, intake, underwing rockets. Hey, this is going to be cool. Your engine, and then the antenna just needs all needs a bit of pre-painting. And so you have got. Why does it show? Why does it show that twice? Oh, sorry, it's just. Yeah, of course. So you basically okay. It's the gunner they've actually duplicated to keep production costs low. I think. Looks to me like they've duplicated the parts completely for the gunner and the pilot. It's a bit questionable, that, doesn't it? Really. Yeah, you can see it there. Going into the fuselage, and then you've got rocket rails coming in here. That's going to be cool. Building up the lower half of your nacelles and all your gear. At a very early stage in the process, you're building, and it's got separate ailerons as well. That's cool at 72nd scale. Not usual at all. And then you're going to repeat this on the other side, including adding a pitot head. Then you're going to put on your glasswork, including your gunner has got this sort of canopy over him that ironically should really have a hole in it for a gun, but it doesn't. Slight omission from Matchbox there. Probably trying to keep the cost down and the part count down on the sprue, I think. Then you've got your dihedral horizontal stabilisers, but I say they have dihedral, so they're up sweeping. Putting in your canopy, your engine going in here, and your spinner and props, plus your exhausts. And then finally, look at this, rockets going on, torpedo going on, now we're talking. Now that's really cool. And then your gear doors. Don't forget, this can also be put in flight. Just reminds you there, if you want to put it in flight, you need to cut out the hole in the lower fuselage. So here we go, let's have a look at what we got here. We've got the actual correct colours. Don't ask me why they chose chocolate brown instead of grey, I don't know. I mean green would have been the better colour. Or just another shade of grey perhaps, you know, for Coastal Command. Anyway, it's nicely done. This is all recessed panel lines. A little bit trenchy and very simplistic, but I've got to say, I remember this went together really well actually. Didn't have any troubles with it at all. A really nice kit to build. So that's your chocolate brown. Then we've got our cream colour, and this has got the because it's the Mark 10. I always mix this up actually with the Mosquito, which is the Mark 9. But you've got your separate ailerons here, look, and you've got your radome nose. You've got your spinners, your gear, all of your rockets, and your tail. It's actually really nice. I mean, yes, it's simplistic. Yes, the panel lines are a bit overdone and trenchy, but this is one of the cleanest. I remember at the time thinking how clean it looked and how easy to go together it all was. It was really nice. And then finally, we've got our wings in grey this time, exhausts, intakes, props, and the front of the engine with all the cylinders on it, and your rocket rails here, your rockets, and our pilots. Actually, I was wrong, wasn't I? It's not quite the same. It just looks like it in the instructions. That's for the gunner, that's for the pilot. Seating position, yeah. Yeah. And then you've got the two pilot and gunner which look like twin brothers. I don't know. Looks really good, in fairness. It's a nice kit, this. Nice kit. Does it have a date on it? Does it say... Yeah, it says 73. Look very carefully, it says 73 there. Printed on the inside of the fuselage. Wow, wow. I must say that it's a really nice kit, the Beaufighter. It is. If you want to build one... Good God, what am I saying? Don't you take part in this pagan festival that's going on, where some of these beautiful, absolute antique classic kits that are not replaceable, can never ever be, they will never come back. You go killing angels by butchering one of these original boxings. You're burning hell for this. A burning hole. Anyway, rant over. Anyway, if you are going to build one, perhaps the Ravelry boxing, then frankly, this is one to consider, just because it's a really nice kit, you know. And it's kind of easy to do. It's not going to challenge you very much. Be a good one for a sort of a beginner to have a go at, or youngster or whatever. You know. or if you're just returning to the hobby and you want to get a bit of a 1970s buzz, like so many of us that are hooked on nostalgia. Now this is the one for you, I think. This is the one for you. Let's just pop those in there. Make sure it's all in. There we are. Yeah, that's a really nice kit, and as I mentioned, I do actually have a literally brand new one here, all shrink wrapped, as you can tell by all the shiny plastic on it, and that's absolutely mint, untouched. So that's that one. Just bear with me a second, we'll talk about this rather handsome looking Messerschmitt 410. Just remember not to put that in that box. Okay, it's in that one. Right, okay. ME410 then, interesting aircraft. And another artwork that poor old Roy Huxley had to repaint. Another one where the history revisionists, politically correct idiots, made him ruin it. But let's first of all, let's have a look at what we got here. It says the escort Mustangs of the USAAF B-17 Fortress and Liberator bombers attack from above the ME410s of Jagersvader 26. Is that Jagersvader? Not sure. Yeah, I think it is. Destroying 12 of their aircraft. Now this is kind of unusual, I thought, because normally, with the exception of the Brewster Buffalo, which is kind of ambiguous, if you just glance at the artwork on the Brewster Buffalo, what's going on there is clearly an air battle, but it doesn't necessarily tell you that they're getting absolutely butchered. Here it kind of does, because if you look very closely at this art, it says subsequent, and I didn't finish the sentence, it says subsequently the squadron was forced to stand down because they were getting absolutely butchered. Now here's the bomber stream that they're attacking, but they've ended up being almost being the bait. The bombers are the bait, and the ME410s have come out and fallen for this, and they're getting absolutely mullered. You can see here one of them is going down in terrible flames, diving down at these Mustangs, pouncing on them like a cat pouncing on a spider, really. You know, you got absolutely no chance whatsoever. Very dramatic indeed. On the side, we've got the Stuka, Swordfish and Lightning. Done that one. We'll do that one in the near future. Swordfish, watch this space, because one of you, Bobby, is going to lend me the Swordfish. We'll have a look at that, because I haven't seen it before, so you can keep your eyes peeled to the channel. Here we've got our colours of what it should appear like. Whether you actually end up with that, with the lucky dip system that Matchbox seem to have, remains to be seen. And then on the rear, really nice kind of artwork they've done, I think, here. And it helps you a lot, because there's some bits there drawing your attention to. They've had to sort of cut off a lack of space. They've had to cut off the cannon because it has this huge great cannon on the front, and they're just showing you how that should be painted. And it's got the Horst Wessel based Zerstoffelgeschwader, Zerstorer, and these are the guys that got mulled by the Mustangs, I'm afraid. So yeah, they're supposed to be the hunter, and they ended up being the hunted. They ended up being the prey, really, so that didn't go very well for them. And then you've got here in Beauvais in France, probably a bit quieter in the south of France, February 1944, before the storm, for D-Day, yeah. Anyway, so that would be probably their first operational tour, you know, February 44, I think, would be their initial putting out into the field, so to speak. Right. Let's see what we got inside. Are we going to get what they promised? No, we're going to have a lucky dip. I can see it coming. At least one of the colours is different to what's advertised on the box. So we've got our ubiquitous Matchbox stand, which is looking a little bit delicate, this one. Pop that to the side. I'll just show you a little bit. I'll zoom in for this now. It's just a little bit off the sprue at one side, that's all. But it's a nice substantial stand, make no mistake, once you assemble that. Then we've got our clear parts. and you've got this very long glasshouse canopy on the 410, haven't you? Yeah, quite an interesting aircraft, really. It has this little window underneath the front of the nose, so you need to probably have a masking set for this. It'd be a bit tricky otherwise. Nice clear parts though, very nice. What date is this? Is this 76? 74? 1974, I didn't know that. How about that? Then we get into, let's read the instructions and have a look at what decals they've given us. Decals, well, they're in good nick, they're in good condition, look at this. They look fine, to be honest. Yeah, so it looks like they did like 1 or 2 missions and then got shot to pieces and then got grounded to the sound of it. So my point being that it's very unusual. Generally, if they have a rather it's a bit like showing. It's the equivalent of showing the Stukas in the Battle of Britain being swarmed over by Spitfires and all bursting into flames on the box art. Doesn't really sell the aircraft to you, does it? Really? It's like oopsie poopsie. I think it was no, not a good plane. That one. Let's skip that one. Getting absolutely hammered and defeated in the sky on probably its first mission. You know. Let's have a look at the old instructions. Here we go. Nice orange instructions, as they should be. This is a 1974 genuine original. We've got the small parts colour guide, painting up your wheels, tyres and your gear legs, and then you've got your propellers, and then this is quite advanced actually, this is quite tricky for youngsters. They want you to actually paint up the spinner with the spiral spinner design. Not going to be easy, is it? And then we've got things like the cannon here, the tail wheel, and then you've got odd bits of undercarriage and pilot, interior of the cockpit, and that's it. So it says, this could be quite amusing I think, let's see what it comes up with. So it says, at least it's printed a little bit bigger, I can actually read it this time with the normal glasses. The ME410 made its first appearance over Britain in June of 1943, having been developed from the ME210, which had been a complete failure. Yeah, they got it too heavy and slow, unmanoeuvrable. It was externally barely distinguishable from the earlier aircraft, however. Nevertheless, it had a greatly improved handling characteristics and a number of variants were produced. The 410A1 was the first type to enter production, and these had internal weapons bay, which accepted a wide range of armaments. When they say internal weapons bay, are they talking about the cannon, or it's kind of interesting. It doesn't elaborate. The 410A2U4 was a specialist bomber destroyer, fitted with a 50mm BK5 cannon underneath the fuselage and carried 21 rounds in a circular breech. All types used the remotely controlled lateral barbettes with MG131 machine guns. Now that's one of the things on this artwork that Roy Huxley, I was going to say got wrong, he didn't get it wrong, it was just the choice of angle. I should point this out. It's a major thing. It has these remote control gun turrets, barbettes as they call it, but you can't really see them in the artwork because of the angle it's at. But if you look at the one behind in the distance, there they are, they're here, just above my finger, there. And they rotate. And so you've got all this weird complexity going on and trying to be clever with remote control gun turrets and, you know, really. And you can see it there, can't you, on this one? Just behind the wing, the trailing edge of the wing. Just there. See it? Just above. Like an oval shape with the gun pointing out. So they had all this fancy, you know, weaponry and blah blah. Really? Did it work? It did not work well for them, did it? And the simple Mustang, which had a big Merlin engine, fantastic aerodynamics, and 50 cal machine guns, just swooped on them. Only 650 cals as well. Swooped on them and shot the bejesus out of them, you know. Anyway, we digress. So let's have a quick look at the instructions. We won't do all this for too long. So we have here, obviously you've got the gunner is the guy that operates the barbettes. Did he have a separate gun? I think he did as well, actually. He may have had a separate gun pointing out the back of his position of the cockpit. Bringing all that together. Now you can see the barbettes. This is why I'm feeling that they undersold it, because they've actually got rotating barbette cannons, look. So it's got do not glue, a bit like the Harrier rotating nozzles system, and you put those in so that they can rotate, which is quite cool. And it's, yeah, and it tells you, of course, if you want to use the display stand, don't forget to clear the slot. So you need to cut that out yourself. Okay, and this actually shows you the barbette itself being assembled in the middle there. There's two of those. So then you put that in, then you move on to your engines, fairly conventional stuff here, engines, prop and spinner. You've got this clear, what does it say? If you're using the U4 version, it has camo scheme painted over, and if you're using the U2, U4 settlement scheme, then you don't put the camo over it, is what it's basically saying. Okay. Then over here we've got general assembly, normal sort of stuff here. Bringing in your wings and your fuselage and your engines all together. Horizontal stabilisers, gear, and then finally you've got these. What are they? It's like an exhaust pack. It's very interesting, isn't it? It's very unusual. I must admit, I'm not an expert on this aircraft. But you've got the big cannon then with its ammunition pack going under the nose, as you can see. Quite remarkable. I like the fact it shows you the angles at which the undercarriage should be done. A little bit of Zokimura creeping in there. Except this was like 40 years before Zokimura, so we know who's actually had the idea first. Zokimura copying, surely not. Right, so we've got one colour that is different. Don't ask me why, but they chose to make. Is it different, or is it just the way it's represented? We've got this baby blue. Anyway, we've got brown, as it does show, sort of basically on the box. Brown here for the wings. And the tail planes. Move my hand would be helpful. Yeah, wings and tail planes in brown. All recessed panel lines, very nicely detailed actually. In fact, I like the look of this kit. It's got a good feel to it, you know. Yeah, quite like that. It looks good, good detail. We've gone to a little bit of effort with those hatches on the underwing. Very nicely done, super. Then we've got the fuselage, complete with these openings for the barbettes that I mentioned. Yeah. So it's obvious that Roy Huxley wasn't perhaps told, or he was told not to emphasise it, or I don't know what, but it would have been good to see those barbettes firing the cannons, wouldn't it? In keeping with the rest of the image, where there's a lot of shooting and violence going on. Anyway, there we go. So here you go. You got your barbettes here. Here's the actual barbettes themselves that the guns stick through. Yeah, you've got your lower part of the fuselage here. That's that one. And then the baby blue. So we've got the engine nacelles, spinners, obviously your props. Again, very sensible the way Matchbox positioned how it's attached to the sprue. You can just snip that off and not even bother cleaning it up. You just stick on the props and away you go. As long as you nip it off neatly, there's no need to clean up. It's all designed for youngsters to be able to do without too much fuss, isn't it? It's quite clever, really. They were ahead of their time, I feel, in 1972 with this. I do definitely feel they were onto something. It's just a shame. Somebody was asking me why they went bust and all this kind of thing. It's just a shame they didn't make the Matchbox kits a different company and make it a separate business that would have been protected from the fall of Lesney with all the Matchbox cars not selling, you know. I think it's a great shame because you look at some of these kits and you just think, if they'd have carried on, I think, and without messing with the artwork, they should just carried on. They had an absolute winning formula. 1972 to 77, it was a winning formula. So that's 5 years, and they should have just carried on doing what they were doing. I said this to one of my subscribers and friends the other day, and I said, if I could go back with the time machine, I'd say to them, 2 things you need to do. Separate the business from the cars, have a completely separate business for Matchbox kits. Make sure that you don't interfere with the artwork because it's absolutely perfect, and other than that, just keep doing what you are doing. Yeah. Apart from pricing, if I feel that anything was a little bit odd about it, I think they should have I think they were too cheap, fractionally too cheap, and I think another 4 or 5 pence at the beginning. I'm talking about if they'd gone on the market at 29p, the very first kits, I still think they'd have sold because everybody loved the novelty of them. Nobody was saying, oh, I'm buying Matchbox now because it's 4p cheaper than Airfix. Nobody was saying that. People were saying, have you seen the pictures on the front? Have you seen the coloured plastic? Have you seen the instructions? It's brilliant. You know, there's no flash on these. They go together perfect. I can do them in a weekend. Nobody was worried about the price. They didn't sell on price. So what that tells you is that they were actually giving away margin that they could have had. They could have charged a bit of a premium. In fact, maybe what they should have done is put the prices up after the first year or so, when they realised that they were selling like hotcakes. If I was working at Lesney at that time, I would have been urging them to raise the prices because they could have done it easily. It wouldn't. I don't think it would impact their sales at all, but it would have impacted their profits. It could have really improved profits, but that wouldn't help them unless they were a separate business, because it would just be more money going into the Matchbox Cars Lesney lost pot, you know what I mean? Which was the problem in the first place. They were losing money hand over fist because nobody was buying the toy cars. They just stopped. They had too much competition from Hot Wheels in the USA. They had, oops, please don't break, please don't break, please don't break. They had a lot of competition from Hot Wheels in the USA. They had recession going on in the UK, which wasn't helping. On the car side in particular, you had all these computer games. Kids were suddenly looking away from toy cars. They were all playing Atari computer games, and even I had at that time, in the mid-late 70s, I had a couple of handheld computer games because they became the new thing, you know. And I don't think it really had a huge impact, not initially anyway, on model kits, but it had a big effect on all the toys. The nature of toys changed, really. Model kits are still going to be built by people like model kits, but toys, they are more trend driven, I think. And there we go. Anyway, last but not least today, the Hawker Hunter. And here's another nice kit that's got some nice options in it. And I have a confession to make. I did decide to build one of these. What? God forgive him! What have I just said? I'll be executed for this. I'll have the Spanish Inquisition in here very shortly, the Matchbox Inquisition anyway. But I had a very bash box, a really knackered one. And I decided to build it, but I realised why it was knackered. Unfortunately, I ended up abandoning this build. The only one in history that I've not finished. And I always pride myself on finishing a starter kit. It's like the Mosquito. I was talking to Stuart and a few other people on the chat the other week, and they're saying, was it Chris Jones as well? I think he was asking, saying, how's the Mosquito going? And I go, oh no, I haven't done any more. And people are like, he's not going to finish it. He's not going to do this kit. Wrong. I always do them. Especially a kit like that, which has got, it's not going to be a nightmare. It's not going to be a Sea Harrier. I will always complete them in the end. I promise you. As long as I've got life in me, I'll complete that Mosquito and I'll show you the process. It's just getting into. It's just taking a bit of time, and there's been all sorts of issues, nothing to do with the kit, that have prevented me or distracted me. It will be built, and it will be pretty decent, I think. So please keep the faith. Stop asking that bloody question. Have you how much Mosquito? I said I've got a new answer for Stuart. He said, have you done the Mosquito? What have you done on the Mosquito? And I say, tomorrow. Mañana, like a Spaniard. Mañana. Tomorrow, we do tomorrow. It'll always be tomorrow. But it will. Tomorrow will come. It will come. Promise. Anyway, I made the comment and story because this is the one time I failed. But it was like a banana. This thing was so warped. I didn't no idea when I bought it. Got it off eBay, I think. And it was in a bad box, and I was disappointed by the box. But it was only when I started building it, it was really horribly warped, and I got very impatient with it and actually binned it. Which is something I never normally do. So don't be put off by this kit by my story though. It was damaged. I think it'd been on a radiator or something. It wasn't normal. It was very badly warped. Nothing to do with Matchbox. I'm sure it was something about the way it had been stored. So let's crack on and have a look at it. So it's the Hunter F6 or the T Mark 7, and I think this is another particularly striking artwork where you get both those in. Well, not both. You get one Hunter, but you have both options. So you can have the F6, which you see in the background here, single seater, or the T Mark 7 twin seater that you see there. A particularly good artwork. Beautiful sky. I just love the feel of this one. It's got that vibe about it. There's no war in it, so there's no controversy here. So you get a choice of a twin seater or a single seater. So this is, what's this, PK117, one of the later ones, and then it's written 75. How dare they? Desecration. Why can't people learn not to do that? Yeah, you've got this, you know, classic original Matchbox from 1974, 76 it is, and then somebody's got a scroll 75 on it. Anyway, it's not even the right year. So I don't know what that's about. It'll be a stash number probably. 75 in the stash. Tut tut tut. Have you no respect? Have you not been listening to me talking about stashes and how stupid they can get? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going off at a tangent. So 45 Squadron at RAF Wittering or 58 Squadron at RAF Wittering, 1974, both of them. So yeah, that's why it's dated 76, I suppose. So it's still an operational aircraft when this kit came out. Very nice, very nice. On the side we've got dark blue, pale blue and grey, I think it is. Let's see. And on the adverts on the other side we have got Lightning Mosquito, Messerschmitt 410. We haven't seen the 410 this time, have we? That's another kit that hasn't popped up yet. That's just got me wondering, where's the 410? There is the list. Is your 410 on the list? 110 I should say, not 410. You're nuts there, I'm getting tired. Where's the Messerschmitt 410 then? 410, where's the 110? I have the list here. The list. There is the list. 110. It's in box U. Where the heck is box U then? I'll retrieve it. I'll retrieve that and the Lightning. We'll have that on a separate, another show. Anyway, on with the. Let's get on with the hunt. Certainly got the dark blue. We've got our glass. No sign of any stand. We haven't got a Matchbox stand in this one. Oh, I'm so mortified. I love the stand. That's really bad. But we have got the right colours, so that's good. And we've got some decals which look okay. Yeah, they look fine. There you go. Here we are. There we go. Nice decals. Look like they still work. Pretty sure they'll be alright. Then we've got our clear parts with our twin seater canopy or single seater. Looks very good. Nothing wrong there. Yeah, it's quite different, isn't it? The way that it fixes at the back is different as well. So we obviously have a different nose, I think. Two different nose sections. Quite separate from each other. Then we've got our small parts guide. We've got the pilot here. The twin seat option. So you kind of replicate things here, but it shows you the internal colours for the cockpit. Your wheels and tyres, gear, legs, nose wheel, the bays, the colour of the wheel gear bays, single seater pilot's seat, and then you've got some matter rocket pods coming up and the cannon holes. It's all looking quite glamorous. And there's also two different styles of jet pipe. I didn't know that. That's quite interesting. See that? So let's have a look at what the write-up says, because this is I always felt the Hunter was like a latter-day Spitfire, to be honest, in that it's a very graceful looking plane, the sweeping curves of the shape of the wings and things, you know. And it says here, let's change this one, it's a bit smaller again. Designed under the direction of Sidney Camp of Hawkers as a Meteor replacement, the Hunter first flew on the 20th of July 1951, and the prototype, fitted with reheat afterburner, established a world speed record of 727 miles per hour on the 7th of September 1953. The Hunter provided the backbone of the RAF fighter strength between 1955 and 1964, and continued in squadron service ever since. This has been written in 1974, 74, 75. A total of 383 machines. I mean, these were retired about 1980, 79, 80, I think. 383 machines were supplied. Over 400 aircraft have been supplied to foreign air forces, including Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, India, and Iraq. But obviously, this is in the 70s. And these have also been in service for many years. The Mark 9 types, which are converted and strengthened Mark 6 machines, entered RAF service in 1958 to 60 and are still in use in today in 1975 in brackets. Yeah, I was right. That's 50 years ago. In a ground attack role, for which the excellent manoeuvrability makes it particularly suitable. The T7 variant was built to specification T157D. Whilst new aircraft were made for these, many were rebuilt from Mark 4 fighters, outdated by the introduction of the Mark 6. So they've updated the older ones. Interesting. It can carry Aiden guns, it has Aiden cannons, 4 30mm Aiden cannons. It's got various underwing stores including bombs, rockets and fuel tanks. Maximum speed 710 miles per hour. Just shy of supersonic, just subsonic. Okay, so quick shifty through here, and then I think we're done for the day, and I can go have a drink because I'm getting exhausted. Right, here is our cockpit. So you've got the two options here. So you've got either the two-seater, the T7, going in like so, or you've got the standard F Mark 6 with your single pilot going in and your single cockpit. You've got two different noses, obviously, totally different design. Then you get to the bit that's the same, your fuselage, and then obviously you've got the option here, different spines that go on the top, and different noses going in there as well, of course. And then we get to our tailplanes, undercarriage, matter rockets, Neb rocket pods, drop tanks. In fact, we've got two different types of drop tanks. We've got a short tank or a long tank. Like a long, I think that's probably 1,000 gallons. I think the other one is probably 600. It's got little tails on it, little fins on it. Then we put our wings on, and then we put in the undercarriage and the pitot heads and the gear doors, and then finally you get to choose. You get to choose what you want for your underwing store. So there's the big 1,000-gallon tank, and then you got, I think, the 600s, and then you've got the option of I'd go for this one. I go for the tanks. Where are we? Here, tanks and SNEB pods, matter rocket pods on the outside, and the smaller tanks on the inboard. But if you wish, you can have all tanks for long range. So you've got really rather a nice kit there. Just need to have a look at the plastic, don't we? So let's see what we've got. Take these glasses up and go back to normal. We have got our main sprue with the fuselage on it. And of course you have a two-sided tail here. See? The tail's double-sided, so it only appears on one side of the, in this case it's the port fuselage. Then you've got your F6 nose, if you're having the single-seater, or the T7, the much longer. It's significantly longer, isn't it, the nose section? So you end up with a bigger kit, I suppose. But it's nice that you've got a big change, a big option there. And it gives this kit quite a lot of character. And then you've got the two spines. You've got the standard spine here, or you've got the much wider, deeper spine for the T7 trainer there. That's that one. Then we have our underwing stores basically, and our seats for the cockpit, twin seat for the T7 or the F6 single seat. You've got the pitot head there, and then you've got, this is the these are the Aiden gun packs actually, the bulges for the Aiden guns under the nose, which is on the F6 of course, not on the T7. Then you've got these different types of fuel tank. I prefer this one, I've got to be honest, but you can have the bigger ones if you wish, that are over here. And then you've got your matter rocket SNEB pods over on that side, and you've got your gear wheels and tyres here, and your nose wheel is here. That's that one. And then finally, and this is very attractive looking blue sprue, Isn't that nice? And it just gives you this impression of what I was talking about with the Spitfire-ishness of it. The rather graceful looking aircraft that the Hunter was. This swept wing, slightly feminine curves almost. Very sort of beautiful, graceful looking aircraft really, wasn't it? I've got our Matra Sneb rocket pods. Now, is it my imagination, or do those look a bit better than the usual Matchbox ones? The engraving where the rockets are supposed to come out, they're not brilliant compared to some other kits there, but the Matchbox were renowned for doing a lot of these, and they often didn't look very convincing because they were just too shallowly engraved, if you know what I mean, where the actual rockets are supposed to come out. They look better to me. They're a little bit deeper, a bit sharper looking. See what I mean? Yeah, I quite like that. And then we've got our pilots here. You've either got two, you either use just one or use the pair of them if you go for the two-seater, of course. Very nice panel lining, very subtle. It's all recessed. Yeah, I like it. It's a nice kit, that. It's a nice kit. Maybe one day I'll have another go. I'm going to do a Hunter. Maybe I'll do the big Revell one when it comes out, though. Yeah, because they've got a couple of variants of it coming, haven't they? But I do like a Hunter. I think it's a very nice aircraft. I ought to do one really. And that I've also seen, a bit like the Lightning I talked about at Honington. Again, a visiting aircraft, not an aircraft at the station though, probably from Wittering. And that was also, I think, on a Friday lunchtime. They always used to come in at about, as though they were coming in for lunch, literally at 1 o'clock. You know, we would go back to school at 1. And I remember a Hunter came in, very distinctive, very graceful looking aircraft, but much quieter than the Lightning. You know, I just happened to be lucky that I spotted it coming. Otherwise, I'd have missed it probably, because it's relatively quiet, relatively speaking, compared to the Buccaneers and the Lightnings and things that would sometimes otherwise be flying around there. Isn't it? Well, what a lovely model. That's actually a nice example in that box. It's a pretty mint example, to be fair. The only thing that's lacking is there's no stand in that particular example. Other than that, it is, in fairness, quite a fairly mint. Just a little bit of tiny bit of dishing, and apart from that, it looks like a new one, doesn't it? Really, another nice example. I've actually got two. I have got one that's not such a nice example over here, which is a bit faded. I think that's, yeah, it's a bit discoloured as well. That's been in a window, and it's also, it says 76, but this has got the later, smaller window. See it? See the difference there? Difference between the standard one, original here, and the slightly later one here. So I think that's a 77. Around about 1977 these came in, 77, 78. But I say this one has just got a little bit, quite as nice a box. It's a little bit discoloured, and you can see that on the front if I show you the colouring. It's a bit faded looking, isn't it? So I think that's probably been in a shop window. So we'll put that one away. We'll have that one as our sort of official Hunter. And there we have it. So that, I think, kind of concludes our business for the day, to be honest. I think that's probably been quite a nice set to show you. And as I said, there should have been the Beaufighter. I've gone, put the Beaufighter back out where it belongs. There you go. But they're nice, aren't they? They're nice sets, these. Brings back some memories, I'm sure. These are the ones that you had to think about back in the day. You had to think, well, that's going to be all my pocket money for the week. I can't really buy any sweets if I buy one of these. So what you might do is, if you've, helped your mum clean up the house or wash your dad's car or something, you might have got some extra pocket money, and then you'd be like, straight there, I'll have a load of sweets, I want some refreshers and fruit salads, yeah, Parma violets or whatever you're into, swizzles, and you get one of these at the same time. Those are the days. Life was simpler then, wasn't it, really? You know what I mean? I know from the comments many of you make that you found the same experiences. Happy times though, happy times. Anyway, I hope that's brought back some good memories for you too. Sorry, my light seems to have dropped off. Yeah, I hope it's brought back some nice memories for you as well. I'm sure that, like me, you can probably remember where you were when you got each and every one of these. I remember I was on holiday when I got this one particularly, And I was very struck by how easy it was to build, how clean it all was. And it was an effortless build, almost like a Tamiya in miniature, you know, almost built itself. The others I got later, in fairness, not at the same time, but they kind of date your life, some of these kits, when they first come out. And you remember, you know, what friends you were with, or typically it'd be when I'm coming home from school, because I think the model shop used to get like a delivery on a Friday morning, so I'd be walking back from school, and I'd go past either the post office or the model shop, and these would be the latest stock would appear, and it'd be like and either I'd go all the way back from school, or my parents would take me in there, because my mum, it was very handy for me. It worked very well. My mum was she used to knit with wool and do embroidery, and she was always going on a Friday. She wanted to go to the little model shop that was also the wife of the bloke that ran the model shop and DIY store. It was a private independent store, and the wife ran all this wool. She had this incredible, just if you were into handicrafts, if you were a lady that liked to do knitting, it was heaven. So it was heaven for boys and heaven for girls in one shop. It was ideal. And my mum would always be running out of wool, and that would be, yes, I get to go to the Matchbox. The Matchbox Ultimate Gods will be with me, because all the new kits will be out. Anyway, that's it for today. Next time, I'll try and see if I can catch up with those couple of kits that were missed out on, the Messerschmitt 110 and the Lightning. And we're going to have something very, very special. Do you want me to give you a taste of what's coming next? Can you bear with me for a moment? You have a look at those while I just disappear just for a second or two, and I'll give you an idea what you're going to see in the near future. Well, what have we got? We've got, maybe not in the next show, in the next couple of shows we've got things like that coming up. We have got so many good things, you're going to be absolutely amazed. I'll get this organised here. Bear with me a second. I've got this box, huge box on my knee, out of shop, and in it, there are so many treats in it. I've got things like this, things like this, things like this. Oh, it goes on and on and on. That's just one box. These are big, these are, and there are multiples of them, because I'm greedy, obviously. It goes without saying. There are many, many kits in this box. So I'm looking at the box. Zoom you back. You can actually see this box. Huge thing on my knee. I'm looking in the box here, and there's 4 Wellingtons, there's 3 Tomcats, so on and so forth. And then, not to be outdone, we've got more here. There's more. What have we got over here? I've got more. I've got... Oh, this is like Matchbox porn. Really? Really? Look at this. Oh, come on, come on. Ankle 111s. 4 of them. Yes, really? Really? That's outrageous, isn't it? I've got many, many, many of those. Look at this, I've got different versions as well. I've got that was the original version, then we've got the slightly later iterations of it. What else have we got? 7 things here. There's a Henschel here. Henschels, Lysanders. I'm not going to show all these in following shows, but just want to give you an idea, really. What else have we got? I'm getting all excited off camera. But... Oh, really? They just keep coming. Check this out. Phantoms, Mitchells. There is so much still to come. Oh, I'm literally drowning in them. Absolutely ridiculous. Really. Exhausting just going through the boxes. Sorry about that. Slight departure from the norm there. There's a lack of professionalism now. I'll just disappear off out of screen, out of view. But you can see why. It's quite hard to manage and orchestrate all this. Anyway, it's coming soon. I hope you're going to tune in for those and enjoy them very, very soon indeed. There we go. So we've got Wellingtons, Mitchells, Tomcats, Marauders, Hankel 111s, you know. Mitchells, I think I've got 5. I've got 4 or 5 of these. That's an original boxing. It's a little bit bashed actually. This is the one I was actually thinking about building. It's got a slight bash at the top of it. But we'll save this for another day. Just give you a little taster for today. You know, and because it's red range, you get 3 different options on the back. Same with the Phantom. I think I've got another Phantom that's got the original artwork. I'm just going to check that actually because it's just slightly irked me. I may have pulled the wrong one out. I did. I pulled the wrong one out. So there's the Phantom, but I've got an original 1975. Look at the artwork, how it differs. Yeah. Now, which do you prefer? I know what the answer is for me. It's the one on the right. Look at that. Oh, what's not to like, really? Anyway, this video has gone on far too long already, and I'm just going to carry on. So what I'll do is I'll shoot this another day, and we'll be back with episode 10. So episode 10, you're going to see some of these red range kits, and then probably in episode 11, I'll try and clear up on 1 or 2 of the ones I've missed, like the ones I mentioned today. And in the meantime, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you give me a thumbs up, give us a like. Stay tuned because obviously there is many delights still to come. Look at that. Plenty to whet your appetite there, I think. And until I see you next time, thank you very much for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Thanks very much. Until next time, take care of yourselves and bye for now.